Hey everybody, trust everyone's doing well. Today's feature is going to be our domestically raised Gold Canyon Vealchop. Look at this beautiful bad boy right here. It's about 14 ounces, a little bit of a short bone, not exactly long bone like a tomahawk. There's probably about 6 to 7 inch long bone on there. We're going to be accompanying this with a couple featured items up here we're going to talk about. This feature will be a breaded version. So we're going to walk over here. I'm going to take a look at this Vealchop. Now what I'm going to do with this, since we're going to do it more of like a breaded Milanese, we're going to create a pocket. Okay. Now I don't want this pocket to be too open, too butterflied, so that the connective tissues separate. What I do want is to make sure I cut from the middle of the bone and follow the middle and continue to go into the protein itself, into the meat, and then slowly open it. Now, a Milanese typically is done in a pounded form. I don't want to pound this too much. I want to have at least 3/4 of an inch of thickness on the protein itself, and then kind of slowly build out the protein itself here. So I don't want to cut all the way through. Okay, so you can kind of see here, you still have the spinalis muscle on the exterior side, away from the bone. It's a little bit clean. We'll bring it down. Okay, I'm going to use the back of my knife, kind of just knock it a little bit, break it up, so you have nice even pieces on each side of the bone here. Okay, now, like I said, we have a presentation side, and then we have the plate side. So I typically like this side to be the presentation side of the plate itself. Okay, I want a little bit of that bone sticking out so people can see it. Now, like I said here, I'm going to want to make sure it's not super thin. We got about an inch, 3/4 of an inch to an inch on thickness on each side, and we're going to go ahead and season it lightly. We don't need to get too crazy with it because there's a lot of great ingredients that are going to be going with this dish. A little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper on both sides. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, and then for those who've never done a dredging process, it's very simple. We're going to do flour, we're going to do egg and Shamrock buttermilk, that's the best kind, and we're also going to finish it with some herb croutons, or if you don't have the croutons ground down, you can do panko as well. You can season it yourself. All right, so like I said here, we're going to go ahead and pour a little bit. And the flour, you can just use regular AP flour, and you can season that as well. Now, you got to watch out with all the seasonings per every step. Reason being is that you can exponentially increase the salt content of everything if you do it, especially if you're not using unsalted butter, if you're seasoning your flour, if you're seasoning your batter, if you're seasoning your breadcrumbs, you're seasoning your protein, and then obviously you have seasoning on your complements. So just be very careful that you monitor all the seasonings that are going to be used for this dish. Now, this one, we're not going to really do any seasoning in the flour. Regular AP flour is fine. I'm going to dredge it here really nice. Make sure to penetrate into the protein itself. So I'll kind of dry it up with the flour. You can see here, I'm staying away from the bone. A lot of these things, so, we've done this in the past, and they go, well, chef, how am I supposed to do this to order? We're really busy. Well, believe it or not, you can actually preset these a lot. You could just, set up, 4 or 5, whatever the velocity is for your restaurant that you're going through, and just get those ready ahead of time. The time on them, the shelf life on them, probably be no more than 3 days. So just be very careful. So here we go. So this is a buttermilk egg mixture. You don't really need the egg, but I like it for consistency purposes, and it holds the breading a lot better. The buttermilk does a great job of adhering proteins to the flour itself. So we're just gonna go here. All right, so dry hand, wet hand. You guys know the whole process. All right, go ahead here. And you could do a single or you can do a double. So typically a double would be great, like if you're gonna go ahead and create a nice good crust. So I'm going to go ahead and pack that in there really nice. And then you can finish it in the oven. So you can start in a pan like we will do, and then you can finish in the oven if you need to, because it is kind of a thicker set. Cook time on something like this, you're probably looking between 12 and 14 minutes, and then a rest time. So I wouldn't really suggest doing this in a fryer. It just picks up, you know, some of the flavors that you might not want, and it tastes better with butter. So to be honest with you, so that's exactly what we're gonna do. We're gonna actually start this dish with some butter, and what I mean by some is I mean a lot. So we'll get that nice and going there. So we don't want to brown it too much. Probably medium heat is probably okay. Okay, and while that's kind of warming up there, we're gonna talk about the peperonata. The peperonata, for those who don't know what peperonata is just pretty much a stewed bell pepper. Typically it's done with red and yellow, but we're doing this application is just red. So this is a neat dish because it embodies a lot of our brands, from our capers to our trifolio olive oil to sun-dried tomatoes. So it's pretty much like a hodgepodge of different ingredients with high acidity, great flavor profiles, brininess, and what's really going to lend to creating a great complement to this particular dish. Another great dish it goes with is anything with seafood because it has those high citrus notes or acidic notes. So I made this ahead of time because I like to let it set for at least a day or two after slow cooking, and we will have a recipe for you. And then I just put it back in the pot. So great for, you know, pre-setups. So you're not sitting there making this a la minute. You wouldn't actually get the flavors that you're looking for if you did that, by the way. So you really want to let it set. Those who like stewing, you know, a lot of meats or anything like that, you know that it's better the second day or third day. So kind of go from there. So you can see how beautiful this is coming. Not too much moisture. It's super, you know, fragrant. The bell peppers, the sun-dried tomatoes, the capers, the Kalamata olives, the sliced garlic. I mean, it's really, really nice. And then the finishing of the oregano's in there too. The oregano needs at least a day for it to kind of steep out its oils. So we're gonna start this right in there. A little bit of our brown butter. It's kind of nice and slow. Okay, we'll let that one go. The plate up on this is super simple too. There's a lot of great ingredients that are going to be going with it. So let's go ahead and get our plate. All right, where's my plate? This works. All right. I'm a big fan of black plates. The only downside to it is if you chip them, they're game over. So, but for this application, it's going to stand out really nicely. So let me go ahead and grab our finished. Oh, look at that. It looks nice. So nice and flattened, about 3/4 of an inch, even with cook time down. The breadcrumbs are really nice. Now, what I would suggest if you are using panko breadcrumbs, you know, you might want to process them a little bit more, whether it's in a blender or if it's in a food processor. That way you don't have like big chunks of breading on the outside. It's more of a smooth look. So, all right, so that's nice and warm now. Okay, now we're going to build a small little salad that goes with it, and we're going to use baby arugula. Okay, now I wouldn't suggest doing too much salt in this particular one because we're going to be putting some tartufo truffle cheese. We're going to shave it right in there, so we're going to be pretty generous with it. Oh, there we go. Very soft, very truffle forward, to be honest with you. So all you can see here that you have pretty much like marbleization of truffle, black truffle and oil in between the cheese itself. This comes from our artisanal provisions category. So very good. And we're going to finish that off with a little bit of our trifolio olive oil as well. Extra virgin. It's fantastic. Has great citrus notes. You know, I've tried quite a bit of olive oils, almost like wine tasting, and our trifolio just does such a great job on the palate. It has so many layers that just continue to go. So this one doesn't really require too much. Like I said, you have that olive oil that's awesome. You got a little bit of that cracked pepper, and as well you have the tartufo truffle cheese on there, which is awesome. All right, so now we're going to finish off with a little bit of our peperonata. Oh, wow, that's looking really good. Okay, so this would be considered the sauce, if you would. I'm a big sauce fan, but I also like complements that go really well with the dish. So this doesn't really require too much sauce. Really, the highlight here is the veal, so I don't want to overshadow it with anything else. So you have really nice plate up right there. We have quite a bit of ingredients that we've used from our catalog. Finish it off. Nice little olive oil right there. Fresh cracked pepper. And what the heck, we're going to finish it off with some more cheese because it's nice and it's flavorful and it's delicious. And there you go. We got our veal, our Gold Canyon premium Vealchop Milanese with our pepperoni, our truffled arugula. And that's it. It looks pretty damn good. Enjoy.